So again, our fans, you know us as we are celebrities now. Olori, Efe, and Eka in the building. We
Yep.
shall proceed accordingly. So
Swiftly.
today's episode is going to be about submission. So before we go into it, let me just set the stage for what triggered this conversation today. So I think Jenny Mai, who is one of the co-hosts of The Real, which is a talk show in the US for women, they were talking about submission. And she was saying how she would like to submit to her man, largely because she felt that she was a leader, a boss lady in every other aspect of her life with work and her business and everything. And so when she came home, she didn't want to have to lead. She wanted the guy to be able to take charge of that. So that's why we are on this topic today.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, so I think maybe we should start with definitions
Mm-hmm.
of what submission is. So I'm not going to just throw it out there because, yeah. Who wants to go first in how they want to define submission?
Yeah, because this is the dictionary meaning that I'm
Exactly.
reading here.
Wow,
Now,
okay.
yeah, please continue, sister.
Is the action of accepting or yielding to a superior force or
Wow,
to the
Jesus.
will or authority of another person. No way, but that's the
Glory.
definition.
Okay.
The action or what? Sorry, can you
The
repeat it
action,
again?
the action of accepting or yielding to a superior force
Mm-hmm.
or to the will or authority of another person.
Okay. Accepting or yielding. No, sorry, I'm just taking
Overall,
notes. So
Okay, notes. Okay, okay.
yielding, superior,
superior authority, another
authority.
person.
We're
Good.
waiting for you, Eka. All
No,
these
I
notes that
finished
you're
writing.
taking.
I finished writing.
I think
Continue.
so.
Continue. Please continue, please.
So okay, you know what? Let me just get started, and I'll tell you why I have issues with this. So first and foremostly, let me just put it out there for the world to know. I do not believe in submission. Like
Mom,
as in that's it, like my straightforward answer to that. Now, my issue with it is I think that even if because I think in recent times what I've heard is modern women were not doing this that dictionary meaning, right? That it's not a superior versus slave type of a dynamic, right? Which I understand. I've also heard that it's really more about respect and deferring or letting him and to me I'm sorry, but to me I just feel like that's all dancing around the issue.
yeah,
If it's about respect, we should call it respect.
that's it.
Why should because if it's about respect, the man should respect the woman as you're respecting him as a man. So
No,
why does
yeah.
the word for the woman's respect need to be submission, and then for the man have to be respect? If it's respect, let's call it respect. Which why to me I feel like this submission word is connoting this superior versus inferior type of dynamic. Now, one thing that I would say though is that if you feel, because the Bible is open to interpretation, right? So if you feel that as part of your religion that it's going to be a violation of your religion for you to see yourself as an equal to your husband, I hold no judgment for you on that. That's how you run your household and and your relationship. But for me, I think this whole idea of we trying to redefine and overdefine submission to me makes no sense. If it's about respect, we should call it respect. Let me hear you guys,
Okay, so I googled another. So basically, there's
what's
submission.
your definitions? Okay, okay.
There's submission Google definition, which is what we all know, and that's why I feel it has a negative connotation. Now, there's submission in a relationship. So what I'm saying is, it is an act that is expressed mutually and voluntarily. Being submissive helps us to be less self-centered and allows us to consider the desires of others. Submission has nothing to do with being weak, but allows us to be strong enough to open our hearts to others. So I feel like this is what Jeannie was talking about. But then the thing is, when you think of submission, it's not like Jeannie she doesn't represent the women who are actually submitting, like who have to submit. So that's my own thing. Because when if you tell me submit, I'm not even going to answer you. But then if you
can I
put it
push
this way,
back on Ginny's angle? Sorry to cut you short,
No,
right?
because you said Ginny is not a woman that is, you believe, is in the bracket of submitting.
no. I
Sorry,
said
is that
she
what you
doesn't
said? Oh.
represent. I said she doesn't represent like most women who have to submit. Like she's success. Like she has. There's some women who have no choice because the other meaning is basically it's mutual and it's voluntarily. So you choose to. There's some women who don't have a choice, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what I was saying.
But my
Sorry, Olori,
my pushback in terms of what Ginny was saying, and again, I heard my disclaimer is if it works for your household and your relationship, please, go ahead. My issue with her definition is that I think that it supports toxic masculinity. For example, the man she's dating right now, I forget, but DJ G
Young
or something, yeah, he probably thinks that he's a boss man in his own, in his own professional life as well, right? So what makes her think that he also doesn't want to come home to not have to lead as well? Do you get what I'm saying? I feel like we're back to this place where we're putting these what do you call it, these unrealistic expectations on men. I would like my husband to be able to come home and feel like he can also let his hair down and not have to also manage our household. Like there has to be a give or take. Like I'm not saying come home and be a bum. Like that's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying that the idea that I like the gift of coming
That's
home
a mutual thing.
Yeah, because it means that some days I'm going to have more capacity to lead at work and then also lead at home, and then some days you're going to have more capacity to do that. But this idea that we can both lead outside the house, but then when we come home, I want to just
Relax and
relinquish
taking
all
care of.
exactly, and then him. To me, I think that is also encouraging toxic. Like we're telling men to be more vulnerable, open up more to us, don't think the whole world is on your shoulder, but then by saying when we come home we don't
Be a boss.
exactly. I'm like, it doesn't make sense to me. Like partnership should be that give and take, and to me when you say that, I don't see that give and take. But again, if that works, what works for you, sis, enjoy yourself. Please, somebody else can take the floor at this moment.
Oh, submission. Please, you people indulge me for a few minutes because it's gonna be a big long one. Now, for me, this is where I stand. If I was on the real, I'll stand with Jeannie. Now, this is my understanding of this. Let's start from the genesis of things. Traditionally, right, a man asks a woman to marry him or seeks a woman's hand in marriage, because we're talking about in the relationship context now. For me, that means that the man comes to find me, and after courting for a while, he asks me to marry him, right? In essence, he asks me to join him aboard his ship. I weigh him up and see his ship and see that his ship can contain me, right? And is suitable for me. Then I say yes to his proposal. Now, God entering this marriage now has asked me, according to the Bible, that I going into the union, I should submit to him. So going into it now, I have agreed. So I agreed first of all to marry him. So I agreed for him to be. I'm now agreeing because in submission now, because we are talking of accepting or yielding to superior authority based on Efe's definition. So in essence, let's say that now I'm agreeing for him to be captain of the ship. You remember, I decided to join him aboard the ship.
Yeah.
Now that's my own side of the contract. His own part of the contract, I have decided that I am going to yield or accept a superior authority. Now, in his own side of the contract, they said he should what? Love. In case some people at the back did not hear me, they said he should do what? His own side of the contract was to love, because my own issue is that we always talk about submission, we don't complete the chapter. Completion is the most perfect thing in life, and God doesn't do things half-half. He told
Preach, Pastor.
now, yes, sister, I'm hot in this one. Now, permit me, please, to just share the unadulterated manual of love from the same Bible, right? That we are quoting submission from. Now, it's not "I love you, baby." No. Love is what? Patient. Love is kind. It does not
Yeah.
envy. It does not boast. It is not
Mom.
proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrong. Love does
Mm-hmm.
not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth.
Exactly.
It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Now that's from the Bible. Now, looking at the manual critically, sisters, we can see that a lot have achieved zero compliance. So
Like,
good. Now, suppression, oppression, domination is not part of what love is. It's not possible to do that and love and say you love, right? Now, the issue is that if the thing is that if you look at itself in every single of what love is, I can give you what they have done that now cancels that the love that is not, right? But that one is another whole podcast is in. Bottom line is now, I, Eka, am submitting to a loving husband. I'm
mm,
not submitting to my husband. I'm submitting to my loving husband. Now, the question I've asked, because me, I'm coming from a school of thought of before, if you tell me anything that's anything seem close to what the word sub, talk more of sub, I'm not there for it. Now, because I've wondered, and I think the reason why I have come to this point is because I've sat down, me, I've asked God, I say, God, how far? Why is it that is submit you ask me to do?
exactly.
Right? Now, this is my own interpretation. What I believe, why I believe God did this is because as a woman or as women, we are the ones, I started with the man comes to look for me and ask for my hand in marriage. We are the ones that they sought out to come and marry. We, as in without us, the bride, there is no bridegroom, right?
Right.
The ones that give the man the ability to obtain favor from the Lord. Quoting the same Bible, they say, "He who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord." I
Right
hope
on, Pastor.
everybody knows this, right? So therefore, I am the key to unlocking ultimate favor for my husband. Do you get
Yeah.
me? Now, that means as a woman, as I step into my husband's house, as I join that ship, na me be transformation agenda. As in,
Wow.
there's no
23.
transformation agenda before I came, right? Good. Now, I'm the engine, I'm the fuel powering that ship. I am the salt and the maggie of his stew. Hello, somebody.
Wow.
You understand what's happening, right?
Glory, glory,
So that is
glory.
why when Jeannie said in that thing, when Jeannie said that in her business at one point before she was rich, she was doing everything, be it HR, be it PR, be it anything, she was doing it because as in she's blessed like that. She has the ability, she has the capability. That is how God made us. We are engines, right? So we are operating a kind of system that is not old Windows 97. We are moving. Do you
Wow.
understand? So as in we are capable of doing so much. So God told us to submit. God now told me, Ekama, you are a canon. You are a canon. So as you're entering this household, Mbok submit to this loving guy. And the one that I have mandated that that should love you like Christ loved the church. I repeat for people at the extreme. He has been mandated to love you like Christ loved the church and died and gave himself for it. Are you getting me? Yeah. So
Right
now
on,
I
Pastor.
calm down and I decide that as I'm going, I've chosen that I've accepted that this guy will be the one I'll marry. So I will submit. I will submit because I have agreed to submit. However, sisters in the Lord, to conclude this chapter of the work of God
This
that I'm doing here
sermon. Yeah.
without the love prerequisite being met, that cannon is fired and it is a Russian nuclear bomb. That is
Wow.
it. Shalom. That's all. Because
Okay,
I
well,
know
Eka,
that.
wait.
Shall we share the
Okay.
grace in fellowship?
Yeah, yeah.
Efe,
Okay, but
please.
let me come back to your stuff. You said love, right? But
Yeah,
is
yeah.
love enough? Like when it comes to submission, is love is that
Mm.
all? Like is
Okay.
love enough for someone to submit? Is that all that we need just for us to
Now,
still keep submitting?
now, to answer your question, if I go back to what love is, That's why I said that it would be good to give this thing. So love is patience. For example, love is patient in the way that, although, because looking at it in an African context, everybody blames the woman for giving birth to a son or a child, right? Love is patient. That, auntie, if you don't have a child for 5 years, love is what? Patience. Love is kind. So that means he will shower you with everything kindness has to offer. Love does not envy. That means he will make sure that his baby girl is making it as much as he's making it, and he's not going to envy. Neither will ego come into it. He does not boast, meaning that he's not going to come and tell and put you down because he's boasting about what his success is. It does not dishonor others. So that means that it will not put me down for being the success that I am. It is not self-seeking. That means everything he is doing is for the good of this family. Exactly. It is not easily angered. That means even though they say I am a nagging wife, you calm down still, okay? You will not be angry. You're not easily angered. You're not keeping any record of wrong. So if I do something today that is wrong, you will not use it 10 years later and say you're doing me this bad thing because I did something bad to you. And then love does not delight in evil but rejoice in the truth. So hello, you cannot go and have a baby mama at the side and come and tell me
Small
that you're
chops.
cheating on me. Exactly. Do you understand? You're always protecting me. That means if your mother hates me and comes to come and say something bad about me, you're supposed to protect me. You're always trusting me. It always hopes, it always perseveres, it never fails. Hello. So if a man is doing you this one now, this is what God has mandated the man to do. And God did not make a mistake by likening it to how that passage says that you should love based on how Jesus loved and wanted and gave his life. So the issue here I have is, instead of talking submission, in my own opinion, we need to have a school of love and teach the men to love. Because if the men are loving the way they are loving, nobody will have a problem with submission. I put it to you, Efe. If a man is loving you with the way they say they should love in the Bible, you will not know where you submit.
But then, that's the religious, that's what I'm saying. With this submission thing, I think there's a cultural context and there's a religious context. So where you're coming from seems like a religious context. Now, this Jeannie's own, for me, I feel like it's cultural because I did research on her and I found out she was married to a white guy. Now the thing is, there's this cultural thing where people see black men as alpha males, like black man, he's taking charge, he's he's good inside the places in the other room, and then for the ones who choose not to be in jail, they actually they're actually doing very well. So for me, I feel like with Jeannie, for her, it's more of a cultural thing. Even when she was talking about her mom, because she said that her mom was like an alpha male. Her mother is Vietnamese. If you've had encounters with a Vietnamese woman, like they are brash, they are very like spicy. I don't know how to say it in a good way, but they are like in your face. Now her dad was Chinese. Chinese men are more calm compared to like when you mix Vietnam and China. Like her mother was hot, her father was cold. Jeannie's first husband was a white guy who was, I think he had money. His family had money. So he was like like I'm okay, my family has money. And he's white, with all due respect, white men are more calm compared to what we think the average, well, let me not say they are, but let me just say the stereotypical white man is more like calm compared to like stereotypical black man. So I feel like for Jeannie's own, like your own Eka, your own theory is like religious. So we're talking of if we're dealing with a man who actually understands what the Bible wants. Because I feel like a lot of people, they'll just say, oh, my wife should submit. Did they look at the Bible's definition of what love is? You have to love.
What I'm saying.
Exactly. You have to love your wife to submit. If you're not loving and you're not ticking all those boxes, like don't expect her to submit. Now, from the cultural point, with Jeannie's own is like, oh, there's this black man who is like, because the excuses she gave as to why she wants to be like submitting, for me, is like, it's BS. It's just because she's with a black man. If she was with a white man, she won't be saying this thing. It's just because she's with that stereotypical, like she's with the stereotypical, and this young Jeezy Abi Ward, with all due respect, this guy does not even have a good track record. This is the man you want to submit. I'm so upset that she didn't even pick a better person. She's submitting to him because he has more money. Because when she was with her husband, she didn't have money. She was a struggling celebrity at the time. She was struggling with her makeup, everything. all of a sudden she realized that, look, oh, like I'm an alpha female, like my husband is not matching up. So eventually she, they had a divorce, and then she started dating black men. And she was not just dating any kind of black man. She's dating a black man who apparently is even richer than her. And then he's like, it's Young G. I think he's a rapper. This guy now has baby mamas. I'm like, is this really, like, even if you're going by the Bible context, should a woman like this even be submitting to a man like this? But then from the cultural point of view, I think it makes sense because she went from white to black. Tomorrow she marries an Asian man. I'm sure her story will change. So for me, that's where I feel like there's a cultural part to the whole submission thing also, as well as the religious part.
So just to comment on the religious, angle, about all Christians, glory be to the Most High there. I think, and I like the fact that you took us back, Eka, to reorient us to the Bible definitions. I think where I still have the problem is, I think, and maybe I didn't read the passage well, but I think even the idea that, love your wife like Christ loved the church, but the woman is supposed to submit anyway, I guess. I think my issue with that is even the idea of doing something like Christ did, even in our regular Christian walk, we know how difficult that is because we're not Christ. Like that's just what that is. And I think that we, even the way that's set up, it seems like submission is something that is attainable by mere human beings, right? Whereas loving your wife like Christ loved the church is something that, if we have the grace to be like Christ, then we will attain, right? Which to me, I think already makes one possible and one near
Is it though? Because is it not why we as women now we are in this fight of submission? Because like it or not, although you say this, a lot of women are so powerful. I know that there are the suppressed and the oppressed, but a lot of women are so powerful that this submission is not something that is possible for them. I mean, we talk about it even in the African context. If you look closely at it, there most times you say, "Oh, I'm a man." Blah, it's all mouth lip service. Women are controlling things in that house. They might come out and say, "My husband, my husband, my husband."
But that's where I'm going with that. One thing, if you say, okay, Olori, I expect you to get B's in your in school, right? If I don't get that B in school, you are disappointed in me because you're like, you have the ability to get a B. Now, if you expect that, okay, Olori is by God's grace, so that if I see A, I will go and do Thanksgiving, right? If I don't get A, there's not that same level of disappointment because it's like that was a stretch goal, right? Which is where I'm likening what the man has to do in loving like Christ loved to what the woman has to do in submitting. Even the idea that the woman has to be the one running the show, but then has to look like she's not the one running the show.
Well, that's my own
right. That to me is also no, but that's maybe a more cultural element to it. So to me, I just feel like if we're coming from a basis of rest, because to me, even that whole let me package like I'm not the one running the home, which I think from a Christian standpoint, you shouldn't be prideful, right? So
I'm not packaging, okay, no, I'm not packaging like,
No, but like the idea that maybe because let's say for example now you bought yourself a car. So when maybe the man is not able to afford such a G-Wagon right now. So maybe should not make it seem like he bought her the car. You get what I'm saying? To kind of save face.
That's more cultural though.
I think
and that may be more cultural. So to me, I feel like rather than making anybody attain like Christ, to me I think respect is a basic fundamental idea.
That's
right.
just it.
I
and
would say,
for me, I don't want to and I get the Bible definition of like love, but I think that many of us come from a very romanticized definition of love, at least initially, and then maybe we grow into love being an action word. So for me, I think the basic that we can all understand, even from like babies, is respect your elders. Say good morning, ma. Good morning, sir. We are trained to know respect from day one, whether culturally, whether from a religious standpoint, in respecting your pastor or whatever, right? So for me, if you respect somebody, right? You care about how you relate with them. If you think that this particular idea or thing is going to make them uncomfortable, you will have a second thought about doing it, right? If you feel like you will not hit someone that you have a respect for, to actually hit somebody like, I have no respect for you. So for me, which what I feel like this whole submission, like to me, it's to me, it seems like it's wordplay. If we both have basic respect for each other, then patience should come in, right? The
And
no
love.
evil thoughts should, like that whole community Corinthians, that whole love passage should be covered, in my opinion, in mutual respect.
Yeah.
No, I believe that, because at one point too, I changed the submit word to respect. But I believe that there is a reason why submit was used rather than respect. If not, respect would have been used. And I believe the reason why submit it was used rather than respect is because the requirement is more than respect. Now, going back to what you said about somebody having A's and somebody having B's, and then the lack of attainability, I believe that that has come because we have been conditioned to not train. There has been, obviously, the world is male favored anyway, so they would hammer on one and not go and learn that. So I believe there is a possibility. I believe that as you said, as human beings, we are not perfect, obviously. Christ came and is perfect, and he did things that we struggle to do every day. The same way I would keep on learning the act of submission is the way the guy should keep on learning the act of love till we get to the point where we are good at it to our own
But can we really
this
separate?
thing.
But can we really separate the religion from the cultural or social context that it's being practiced in? And that to me is
Yeah,
the
you
other
can.
element.
Now
Like
me,
it's kind of hard.
yeah, now me, I'm
But it
going on the
depends.
basis, I'm going on the basis of a woman that has a choice and that is not bad by cultural beliefs. Now I'm going on the basis of me, I am sitting down and I have collected the submission from the religious aspect and I have read the full chapter. And anybody that is going to use that submission against me, you're using it because the thing that taught you about that submission is the Bible. So you better go and do your research and read the full chapter. You cannot come to me from a cultural basis with submission because you will tell me where in your culture submission came. If it is from the Bible, then let's read it till the end.
But
If
can I
not,
also push back on?
if you decide to have a full submission, it is your culture, then I am against that submission because that is not the submission definition I am working with.
So let me ask, and maybe if we can, let's separate the religious answer from maybe a
Yeah,
more,
but the thing
because
is,
because
but the thing is, the word
yeah.
submission, right? It's a Bible, it's a biblical word, or
Yeah.
Quran, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's not social, it's not cultural. It starts from the Bible. So
Yes.
for you to separate it, it might be hard, but it's doable. Because
Mm-hmm.
if someone doesn't believe in God, for example, if you're an atheist, you're going to go with the cultural or the social. You
Beliefs.
get.
Yeah.
So because we're
Right.
Nigerian, like we can be looking more, oh, it's religious or whatever.
Mm.
Which, with that being said, for me, I'm a feminist. I'm also a Christian, but I feel like the Bible literally doesn't rate women, because even that same Bible says that your desire will be for your husband; he will rule over you, but he's ruling over me. The Bible doesn't even give women like the right to even do things. Which, I mean, that's another, like that can be another topic. But the truth is that
It
word
depends
submission.
on what. It also depends on what you're reading and what chapters you're reading,
This
because
is
I
from
believe,
Genesis.
yeah.
But then
Okay.
different chapters, like there's always something. Because even the same Genesis says something about Eve being a helper as opposed to being a slave. Because when you think submission, you're thinking I'm giving everything. But that same Bible in Genesis also says, God brought Eve to help Adam. So the
Yeah.
Bible is kind of mixed with what it thinks women should be to men. I think that's where, because if we think about it, most of the world's, like even the social constructs, cultural, most of our culture kind of comes from the Bible or the Quran. Some of our
Right.
social kini also comes from the Bible or Quran. So it's hard definitely to separate everything, but then it just depends on your own belief in general.
Mm-hmm.
So where I was going to go with that was, okay, because, and I don't know if this is one of those things where people would respond to me and say, well, you can't use a carnal mind to understand the things of the spirit, right?
Mhm.
Because to me, no, it's true. Because to me, I'm going to say, okay, if we take out the religious connotation in terms of, oh, okay, as Eka said, he who finds a wife finds a good thing.
Mhm.
You bring favor, you bring, transformation. And so maybe if I submit, the value add, is this, blessing or
Mhm.
favor, right? For hopefully our family, right?
Mhm.
So to me, I'm like, and honestly, to me, that's neither here nor there for me, because that's
Mhm.
not a guaranteed, again, depending on if the Bible is the Bible, right? But for
Mhm.
me,
Yeah.
that's not necessarily a guaranteed outcome, because to me, I've seen women who have submitted to men
Yeah.
that who weren't deserving of it, and
Mhm.
and to me, it doesn't seem like they were blessed or favored as a
Mhm.
result of that,
Yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
connection.
Mhm.
So to me, I'm like, if I take that out, because I can't argue here on there, maybe because even the same Bible says that God will bless who He will bless, right? So
Mhm.
Yeah.
that's one thing.
Mhm.
So from a logical standpoint, what is the benefit above and beyond respect of submission? That's kind of where I'm trying to go, go. So if it's more than respecting you, what is the additional benefit that we both get? Because I understand the idea of, okay, we both can be angry at the same time. Maybe I'll cool down now and hear you out, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe this issue is not that big of a deal for me, so I will let it
Mhm.
slide, right? And
Like,
let and let you have your way on. But to me, in doing that, we understand that it's not every day that I'll be letting issues slide, right? This particular issue tends to not be a big deal for me, right? I'm not submitting to your temperaments,
Mhm.
right? I'm not saying that on this particular issue, it's not a big deal for me. I can let it go. So, so what is the additional benefit above and beyond respect and compromise, right? That comes with submission. I guess is my own angle.
Uh, to me, I believe I'm sorry to say that I know we were saying let's remove it from the religious context. Me, my belief of submission has to be laced around the religious context, because I will not submit to that which does not love me. Because if you do me wrong, I will deal with you. So there's no, on a serious note, no, it's true. So it's one of the same thing. I believe, because in my head, the religious context means that, for me, the way I read that chapter, for me, God is telling both of us to do the same thing. Submission is hard for me, love is hard for you. So God has given us two different words, but it's one on the same thing. In order for you to love me, you're submitting to me. And in order for me to submit to you, I'm loving you. That is how I personally see it. Now, if we're taking it from that context, I don't know what I can say. And I'm not looking at it in compromise and all that, because I believe that the compromise is coming both ways, because you love me. Now, why I say that is, I can't be submitting to wrong. I can't be submitting to evil. Do you
Okay.
understand what I mean? So that's where I'm coming from. So it's hard for me to remove it from the religious context, because it's like two things are balancing up. If one doesn't balance up, I'm not going to, it's not a matter of compromise and taking crap from you. No, it's a matter of, this is who you are and this is what I am giving you. And as you said before, in the sense of, there are women who obviously have gone in because the man was loving, submit, and then down the line they are not gaining anything, and they are burnt, right?
Right.
Now that
Yeah.
is why I say that there is now a bomb happening at the end. Once the submission is not coming, unfortunately, the contract has changed. It was a contract. It's the same thing as, I'm entering into a business. There's a risk involved.
It's a
If
partnership.
it's a partnership, if the risk involved comes, unfortunately, that I'm going on the left, like it has gone south, then the strategy will change. The only constant thing that is happening in this thing is change. Change will happen. And unfortunately, that change can happen for the good and for the bad. And as you said, we are mere mortals. So that is when I ask the Holy Spirit to come inside me, because I can open myself and it will be war. But then we are now asking God, help me with the submission. Do you understand what I mean? So now, what my own is that I can't differentiate it from because that is my basis of the submission. That anything, if I was a Christian, I don't know if I would have conversations about submission. If it
If
was
you
a
were a Christian or if you
cultural
were,
if I was not a Christian, sorry, and it was not taught in whatever religion I was doing, In a
Yeah.
cultural perspective, if they said, okay, a wife does this, a wife does this, if I now go and I open my eye to the world and I decide not to do that, I go and look for a man that I don't need to do that to, out of my culture. That's my own understanding of it. But if it was a culture and I'm okay with the culture and that's what you must do in the culture, then who knows? I might either decide to do it or not decide to do it, depending on where I end up. But I won't be able to remove it from that, because that is what is holding me to do it. I understand it from that perspective. Any other perspective, I don't know.
So I'll give my final thoughts, and then I'll send it back to FA to close us out. I think I'll say two things about it. I think what I'm hearing you say is that for you, the religious context of what the man is required to do in love provides a safety net for you. So once you take out that safety net, then you have something else
Yeah.
going on, I guess.
Exactly.
What I would say though is why I feel like it's hard to separate culture and religion, in my opinion, is because I think the reason why we advocate for people to preach safe sex practice to young people are not abstinence, right? Because I feel like even in marriage, many people, and it's sad, but many people go in marrying a guy that maybe is rich but doesn't love them like the Bible has said, or we go in a very immature way and then we learn along the
Along the
lines.
way.
And so if you're coming into that with a strict submission thing, when you both haven't fully embraced both sides of the argument, I feel like it's like telling a teenager to abstain, right? When their hormones rage, they don't have the skill sets to now know that there is protection from for sex to avoid getting pregnant, right? Which is a similar thing to me here. Is I feel like because of the cultural mix and match, I think respect we understand, respect we've been taught from day one, and I think that is easier to grasp, articulate, and practice than this more mature way of being in loving and submitting as the Bible has declared. But FA, please see us up. We have like maybe 2 minutes.
Okay, so for me, like, I have a problem with submission in the Bible context, because basically it's saying, okay, women, just be like your man, your husband is everything to you. Now, I feel like with the social thing, I think when it comes to submission, you basically society expects woman to submit to what they call an alpha male. So that's kind of like an alpha male is like literally like a god. So if we're using social kini to describe submission, and the Bible one, like it's different, because when you think of an alpha male, like the Bible, I don't think the Bible kind of understands what an alpha male is. So the Bible says men should love their wives the way Christ loved the church. So that's the first thing that husbands need to realize. If you're not loving your wife the way the Bible says, please don't expect her to submit. Personally, I won't submit to a man in the Bible context unless he's doing everything that the Bible says that he should do. And I feel like that's where a lot of people, they'll go to the Bible and say, oh yes, this is why you should submit. I will only submit to someone who, again, respect is important. Someone who respects me, someone who loves me, someone who understands me. And then when it comes to the financial part also, for me as a woman, I don't see myself submitting to someone that I earn more than. So that's just me. Like, I cannot submit to you because, first, in fact, I can't even be married to you. So let me not even go there. But let me say that I'm married to you. Submitting will be hard. And I feel like that's where some women are like, no, I can't submit. Because unfortunately, they've dealt with all kinds of men who are just nasty. And it's like, look, you're not even bringing money. You're not telling me to submit to you. Are you mad? So I just think at the end of the day, we need to just make sure that whoever we're with, whether we're going with the religious, like, okay, what the church says, what the Bible says, let's know that that man is following it. If we're going by social context, let's know that, let's know that the man is following it. So in essence, Efe will not submit to a man that is not worth submitting to. That's just it. That's all.
Power for the people.
Thank you and good night.
Bye.
Bye.